You are listening to Withstood, produced by Crossbrand.
Hey folks, this is Mike Morrow. I'm here with three esteemed guests and one almost esteemed guest today. We're going to be talking about an incredible ministry. It's probably what I would consider the most well-kept secret in this part of East Texas. We're going to be talking to some men from Boathouse Ministries, and I promise you, if you're between the ages of 18 and 30, you're not going to want to miss this podcast. All right, Crossbrand folks, we have been telling you about a tremendous ministry opportunity just right here close to us, within 45 minutes of our actual location. And Kiona helped with getting these guys here today, and we are so excited to introduce to you our Boathouse ministry guys. I don't know if y'all have ever been tagged that. It's better than Three Stooges, I guess. But although Kiona says that might be appropriate. So at this time, this is the Boathouse ministry, and we're just going to go through, and we're going to let them introduce themselves in a second and talk a little bit about the Boathouse. Of course, this is Withstood. Typically, the people that we interview for our podcast are folks that have gone through some pretty difficult times, and the Lord has helped them withstand those, sort of like he did that one time with the Apostle Paul, and he was talking about how he was in prison and Jesus stood by him. You guys, though, there may not. This is a different kind of Withstood. After I heard y'all's story about where you started and how in the world you are still going, just absolutely blew my mind. And it has to be the Lord. It just has to be the Lord. And so at this time, I'm going to ask these guys to introduce themselves.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Brandon Brattloff, and I've been a part of Boathouse, I guess, from day one with Clay. So.
All right.
Yeah, I'm Clay Crouch, and Mikey hit it spot on. It's all because of God. The reason we're continuing to be able to do this. So yeah, it's awesome.
That is perfect. And who's the young man over here beside me?
The old man is what that is, Lane Murray. So I'm late to the Boathouse party, but came a couple of years after they got rolling. So,
yeah. Lane, how did you find these guys?
So interestingly enough, I've got twins that are just graduated in college, but Josiah, my boy twin, was actually being mentored by that guy across the way over there, Brandon Brattloff. So he kept telling me about Boathouse. Then it wasn't called Boathouse. What was it called, guys?
Tubing Tuesdays.
Yeah, Tubing Tuesdays. Sorry, that lasted about a week, and then we decided to switch it over to Boathouse. So.
Oh my goodness.
But I couldn't let Josiah just hang out with anybody without knowing who this guy is. So
That's
Brandon
right.
comes over to the house, and it took about 5 minutes for us to click. And then
I bet. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, so.
All right. So Brandon, did it start with you? Let's go back to the first day.
First day. Well, I believe first day I was managing the Petroleum Club at Lake Tyler.
Okay.
And I was just out of college by about 2 years. And in walks Clay Crouch and his mom and stepdad, and they needed to put I guess their boat in a boat slip at the club. And so I got to meet him and his brother Logan, and we hit it off immediately. So within the first 2 weeks of them being at the club and keeping their boat there, we actually got to spend time on the water together. We started wakeboarding and surfing, and so from there, it was just like, hey, why, if we both love Jesus and we both love the lake, why don't we open the Bible when we're done? And so we did. And so it was just Clay and I and Logan and maybe some of their friends, and that's how it started. We wanted to bring Jesus into what we love to do.
When was that, Brandon?
Yeah, it was actually the summer of 2015, because I had just graduated high school, and so my parents, my mom and stepdad, that's Robert and Kelly Bora. They're cross-brand people. So
we're president. I'm president of their fan club.
Okay, yeah. So I know a lot of you guys probably know who they are.
Yes.
So when we met, like one thing that like really impressed me meeting Brandon like day one. So I'm kind of at a spot in my life where I graduated. Kind of going through some things, and parents bought a boat, and we're going to go out on the lake, listen to our kind of music, me and my brothers, just do our thing, no parents around, because they were trusting us to take the boat out and stuff like that. And, so we were actually skiing in a no-ski zone the very first day. Because trying to find the smooth water, all that. And we're like, big into wakeboarding and everything. So my brother was throwing a flip or something and fell, and I'm like, I see this boat come flying up, and I'm like, here we go. This guy right here, he's going to get onto us because we're in a no ski zone or whatever. Well, it turns out it was Brandon, and he's like, oh my gosh, man, dude, we've got to go out together. We got to wakeboard. So the next day, we're like, dude, let's do it. So we went out. So here I go, thinking this guy's about to rip us a new one for doing this in no ski zone, and he's just trying to get us on his boat. So the next day we went out, and what was really, really cool, when we went out, at the very end, it was just a normal day. When you think going to the lake, man, to be honest, a lot of people think, hey, pick up a 30, let's roll to the lake, have a good time. That's like what the world pictures spending the day at the lake. But it was so cool just going out and hanging out, and wakeboarding, having a really good time. And at the very end, Brandon paused and he goes, hey, what I always do is I always pray it out at the end. And I was like, and we didn't even talk about the Lord the whole time. It was just, hey, small talk conversation and stuff, but I could see and sense instantly. I was like, man, this guy's bringing Jesus to the center of something he loves, which is a lake. And I didn't expect it, because when I picture going to the lake, I just picture going on jet skis, wakeboard, hanging out, and then we go home, So instantly I knew, it was like, dude, me and this guy are going to be friends. Cause it's kind of funny. I'm at a spot where I think I'm going to live a certain way during the summer, and the Lord's like, actually I got better plans for you, and so it started with that, and we go every single day like he was saying, and then it was like, man, we love Jesus, we love the lake, let's bring our Bibles. And that was the accidental birth of Boathouse. It's just God bringing we just brought Jesus into something we loved. And
this is kind of a side note, but based on what you're telling me, you didn't really feel pushed or trapped by this guy?
Not at all. No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
great
just,
approach, Brandon. Good approach.
Yeah, it was just truly genuine. Of like, we just hit it off, and I mean, it was like just on a personality level, we're a lot alike. And then you take hobbies we're both passionate about. The Lord just brought that together, and we
call that sneaky Jesus here, just easing into it, baby.
I love
easing
that.
into
Sneaky
it.
Jesus,
yeah, bad. That was 2015. I had no idea y'all had been around that long. And so it wasn't,
Well, and to clarify, it was not a college ministry until 2019. So I led Young Life for, I guess, 6 years. And so I met my guys when they were in 8th grade and walked them through Legacy, Robert E. Lee, all the way through 12th. And so when my guys graduated, we had been on a pause with this Bible study group, is what we called it, because Clay and I kind of got burned out. We were doing all of it. We were doing all the tubing in the summers. We were feeding everybody. We were doing the devotions and leading and all the coordinating year round. We did that for 2 years. And so when we got tired, we said, let's take a break. So we had taken like a year break. And then when my guys were graduating high school, I was like, I got 5 people that had asked me, hey, are y'all going to bring that thing back in 1 week? 5 people texted me or called me and said, hey, are y'all bringing that thing back? So I called Clay, and I don't remember if you remember that, but
I do.
I called you and I said, hey, we need to talk. And so I said, hey, do we want to bring this thing back? And we decided to do it, but we said, we need to focus on an age group. And we both landed on college immediately, because there's nothing. Before, we let anybody come. It was anybody. Like, we had people that were 13, we had people that were 25. Like, it was all across the board. But there was nothing specifically for college students in Tyler that in the summertime that was catering to them, because all the churches really shut down their college ministries because all the college students go home.
Sure.
And so originally, like, we were just going to do it in the summer. Mm-hmm. Like, say, hey, let's go on the boat in the summer, and let's bring college students that are here that are coming home from A&M and Texas Tech and all the schools. And then we did it, and then all of a sudden it just morphed into this year-round thing, and it grew tremendously.
Well, and one of the things that we appreciate, and I think I told Lane this the first time we met, is so we started Crossbrand in 2003. So we're coming up on our 20. College ministry is the hardest ministry that I've ever encountered in a local church. And I've been doing this, I got to say, when I was 19, went straight, to work. And it is such a difficult niche to create. And I know some of the college campuses have figured it out, but nothing like Boathouse. And we have college ministries here, but nothing like Boathouse. And so you guys it was an answer to our prayer, literally, because we couldn't find a place to plug college students in. And now when I announce from the stage and we push you guys, the Boathouse ministry, it's very seldom that we have anybody go and say, I'm not coming back. I mean, they always come back. If they can ever go one time, because, that you guys are contagious. I don't know any way, else to put it. And the food is really good when we cook it.
Absolutely.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen.
Oh my goodness. So, Boathouse, has always been at the Petroleum Club?
No, it hasn't.
So I'll give you a little backstory, like real quick. So one little key piece we missed when Brandon and I we decided to open up the Word when we went out on the lake.
Okay.
Right? We never planned on a Bible study ever. But people said, "Hey, can I come? Can I come? Can I come?" When they heard we were doing it, and then we were like, "Okay." And then we have a boat full of people. Then we had 2 boats full of people. We're like, "Okay, we're kind of onto something." So the Bible study originally, we called it Tuesday night Bible studies. We did it for 2 years straight. And so it wasn't like when we started to open up the Word, let's go plan for this. It just naturally, Lord just kind of made it happen. We burned ourselves out and we learned a lot, and then we moved on. And then part of that, with that dinner that we were talking about, we were sitting at your house when you called me to come over for dinner. We sat down and he said, "Hey, let's bring that Bible study back. What are your thoughts?" And first thought was, oh my gosh, here we go. I'm thinking burnout, all that. But then when we talked through it, it's like summertime only. The lake only, we could really do something cool, because we saw a gap, and like it's pretty easy to get college students to sling them on some tubes. Like we've destroyed some college kids on some tubes, like, and had some awesome times. And then we're gonna tell them about Jesus. They almost died, and then we tell them about Jesus.
That's great evangelism.
Yeah, 100%.
Good job.
100%. They're like, yeah, my life flashed before my eyes like 6 times. So yeah, I need to know Jesus, right? So that was our approach at first. So.
I was wondering how I sold that.
Yeah.
I
Good
sold
job.
it by saying just the summer.
Just the summer, yeah.
Okay.
And that was definitely the plan. But part of that was like, when we did all year long of just that Tuesday night Bible study, we went to Sonic. We went to so many different places, and we went to different boathouses all around the lake, and that was part of it. So one of the learning things that we came across is, okay, let's do one location. Really, really simple. Very simple food. Okay, the same routine every Tuesday night, right? That way we were protecting ourselves, and everybody was still getting the same out of it. They were having just as much fun as us bouncing around to different locations it was really kind of easier because everybody knew exactly where it was going to be. They knew it was going to be simple food, but it was great. And it protected Brandon and I from burnout. And we did it at one location, the Denson's Boathouse. Huh. And then, it kind of, that's when Lane came on. The first time when we grew, and then so I was driving a boat, Brandon was driving a boat, and then these guys met, going back to what Lane was saying. So he
through the sun.
Through the sun,
yeah.
He had to bring Brandon over to interview and make sure he was all cool, and so, and then all 3 of us, man, we hit it off like crazy. And so,
well, what was the score? Was it just like a C or?
Well, I actually was grading Lane, but
okay.
it was probably like C plus.
Oh, okay. Wow. Reverse. That backfired on you.
No, man, I'll tell you. So I think, Brandon, you need to tell this story because just of the club and how we wound up there. And what was your vision kind of even when you were in high school? Yeah. The Lord kind of gave you this. So I think this is pretty cool to add to this.
Yeah, please do.
So, back in I went to UT Tyler, graduated in 2011. And I graduated. I had worked all the way from when I was 14 on. I'd never missed really a day. I've worked all the way through. I worked all the way through college, and I loved it. And I graduated college, and I knew it's like I want to go in to be in the boat business. That was my dream. So I signed on with Marine Max in Dallas. They said, if you do well here, we're going to move you to Florida. You can sell big boats. I said, great. So I went in, and within probably 45 days, I knew it wasn't for me. Like I knew it was terrible. Like it was miserable. I was borderline depressed. I did not like Dallas. I didn't like being pushy and selling boats. I didn't like any of it. And so I told them, I said, hey, I'm going. I had already committed to drive a boat at a Young Life camp in August. And so I was working May, June, July, leaving in August for a month. And I said, hey, when I leave in August, like I'm not coming back. Like this is not for me. And so when I got back I didn't have any work lined up at all when I got back from upstate New York. And so I had a guy call me, and my dad built his house, and he said, "Hey, I own the petroleum club, and I want you to run it." And I said, "No." and the reason I said no so quick was because my mentor all the way through, from junior high all the way through high school, was running the petroleum club. And I said, "There's no way." I said, "Thanks, bye, click." And so he called me back again. He said, "Hey, I want you to run the club." I said, "There's no way it's going to happen. I'm not running the club." And so the third time he called, he said, "Listen, we're going to make a change regardless, and we want you to do it." And I said, "Okay, but here's the deal. We need to all three be in a room, and we need to all make sure this is all kosher, because I'm not taking someone's job. Like, that's not what I'm going to do."
Good for you.
And so especially somebody that I love and cared for, because he did. I mean, this guy invested in me so much. I mean, we ate breakfast twice a week together. I worked for him. I mean, he gave me my first job, the whole bit, and is just a super special person to me. And so so I ended up running the club, ended up managing the club and doing that. And while I was there, I did it for 3 years. While I was there, I was standing in the parking lot. And I remember telling Clay this, and I told my family, I said, one day, like, I'm going to have church here. Like, there's no better place to have church. And I had none of this had happened. Like, no Boathouse, nothing. And I just was standing there looking at the sunset, and I said, I'm serving people alcohol behind these bars, and they're getting completely wasted every weekend at these parties. And I said, this place is going to be used for something different. And I didn't know what that looked like, because we were making money at the time, and we were, doing all the stuff we were doing, bringing it up from the grave, if you will. And it was a party central. Like, it was wedding parties, and it was sorority parties, and it was fraternity parties, and the whole thing. And I sat there in the parking lot, and I said, this is going to be like, this place it was just a vision God gave me of having church at this place. And it didn't even happen until, when did we move to the club? It was after the Densons. So it would have been 2020, probably. Yeah,
probably so. Yeah,
it was 2020. We ended up moving to the club, and they agreed to allow us to be there at no charge, which is incredible. And so before my eyes, I started seeing this vision like take form of church at the Petroleum Club, and students pouring in.
Wow.
And the parking lots being completely full. And I mean, and it's nothing that Clay and I could have done on our own. If we would have had a plan and said, we're going to execute it, and this is what we're going to do, there's no way it would have been there's no way it would be where it is today.
And I didn't realize that the Petroleum Club only came in 3 years ago.
No. It's been around since the 80s.
No. I'm talking about when you guys moved.
Sure. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that was the thing, is like, we maxed out the Denson's Boathouse. And so we didn't know where the move was. And we weren't 100% sure it was the club. But the second we made the decision to move to the club, instantly the Lord doubled Boathouse in size of students.
Yeah.
It was just like, it's cool. And now to the point where we're literally blowing out of the walls of the Petroleum Club, and we didn't think we'd ever do that. And we're completely out of room.
Yeah. So, and you had, how many did you say you had last week?
Summer's a little different. In the fall, spring, we average about 420.
That's right. That's what I thought. And just so, if any of you haven't heard of Boathouse, I've gone once. And of course, I felt like Santa Claus while I was there. I had to go home and shave. But I am telling you, this thing was, guys, it was incredible. It felt a lot like some of the youth stuff and the conferences that I used to do when I, was younger and prettier, had hair, liked teenagers. But I'm telling you, it had such an amazing appeal. Y'all got volunteers that serve food. You got volunteers or organizations that give food. I tell you what, let's do at this point. Lane, take us through the night. What does the night look like?
So
starts at what time?
Yeah, the kids get there around 6, and we'll play games outside with them. Cornhole, 9 square up in the air, all the different things college kids love. They'll hang out on the deck, and then we've had different organizations. Shout out Chick-fil-A on South Broadway, you guys, South Springs Church. Grace, different churches around have really Central. They've all helped out.
Good.
As far as providing food, which took a lot of the cost off of all of us, of course. So we're very thankful for that. And then so we'll hang out with the kids till about 7:20, 7:30 range, and then we'll fire up with praise and worship, and then. One of the things we instituted too is having like a little 2-minute testimony in the middle of it. So,
I loved it.
And I back up just a little bit.
When
I first got there, Beeves and Clay we had YouTube videos. So you remember? So we had YouTube videos of praise and worship, but none of us played any instruments. We're like,
we're going to worship, but we're going to have to do it on a screen.
Yeah, because none of us play anything. So I'm like, dude, look around. We got all these college kids. Somebody here plays something.
Sounds like that is exactly the way we started.
Right.
Man.
So, but the Lord brought by a bunch of Pine Cove kids and just different kids from all over, actually, that help lead worship. And so they
do a good job.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys could cut an album. Really.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And
I agree.
About that time, Central Baptist Church came along, and, Brandon Culpepper, who is a huge piece of it, leads worship over there for Central. And he's taken our worship to a whole new level, I would say.
For sure.
Say, guys. Yeah, so then we'll have a 2-minute testimony, which is basically one of the college kids will talk to the group of college kids about what it means to walk with Jesus Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
So what does that actually look like? And that's been, I think it's been huge for them to hear somebody that's just like them, that's living this life in this fallen world, but yet doing it with grace and with mercy. Because one of the things you'll hear from all of us is how broken we are. Right?
Yes, sir.
And we live in a broken world. So then after that, we'll finish up with praise and worship, and we'll follow by one of us teaching, or even this spring we had 5 of our seniors talk, which I think was very special to hear these guys who have kind of been with Boathouse from the beginning to now stand up in front of the group and share what just, out of the Bible, what God's doing.
That's incredible.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah.
And,
And you had the privilege to baptize at least one of our girls that was here that goes to Crossbrand. And that was just a monumental moment for her to be surrounded by, her family, her Boathouse family. But, it's the kingdom, man. It's the kingdom. What are, let me see, we'll look at our time here. What are some of our challenges in the future for Boathouse?
How long you got?
Yeah, I was the way. Hey, if you got, I know you can't see, we're not on video, but there was so much eye cutting and grins going on right here, right now.
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
Lane, take it away. Lane.
So I think, here's the thing, Mike. I think there's probably more questions than there are answers, right? Which is okay because we serve a big God, and I just read in Psalm 50 how he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills.
Yes,
so
he
knows
does.
he knows what we need, and he knows it before we even ask.
That's right.
So just like we've moved to the petroleum club, right? So we're busting at the seams, and you see God double it nearly every time we move somewhere to a place that actually can fit. So right now we're in the process of trying to find what is that next move? Where does God want us to go? And that's one piece of it. So then, fundraising and all the things that go with that, and to have our actually own place, because right now we're having to tear down every week, and which puts a huge burden on the volunteers and us, right?
Yeah, it does.
To pick up and all that. So we're just asking God, God, who can partner with us to help provide a place on Lake Tyler is what we'd like to say, because it's about 10 minutes from UT Tyler and TJC, so it's easy for the college kids to get there.
That's right.
So there's that piece. We're in the process of actually interviewing directors. We've just hired a women's director, which is kind of cool. So that means we'll have maybe start some own women's Bible studies and being discipling.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Wow.
It's kind of cool.
Wait. It wasn't her, was it?
Been something we won't tell you, Mike.
Okay, yeah.
So, but and then also we're looking to hire a kind of a men's director, something to kind of help run the day-to-day of Boathouse. And because we've got about a 50-50 split between UT Tyler, TJC, 40% of the kids are from here, 40% over here. And then we've got about 20% of the kids that are coming from just all over Tyler that are working.
Yeah.
So, which is cool.
That's our kids. A lot of our kids are that, yeah.
So that's where we're at right now, is in the process of finding God's man to help lead, and to do some of the day-to-day stuff. What else, guys? What am I missing?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you need to clone some of these guys that are sitting across from you today, don't you?
We need all the clones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, guys, this is not strictly something that just Lane just said. People need to know this is not just for college kids. This is for college age kids.
Yeah, 18 to 30 is what we say.
Yeah.
Like we want to create an environment that's loving and caring, and where these students can come and they feel like they're welcome and they've been prayed for and they're loved, and they can bring their stuff with them. Like, we don't ask them to clean up before they come in. We want you to bring everything in with you, and then let's start dealing with it.
They can't check their life bags at the door.
Yeah.
And Mike, I know you guys do. I've been to y'all's church several times, and y'all do a fantastic job of that.
I appreciate that.
I've talked to a lot of people around town. And they say, well, if that don't go to church, but they say if I go to church, I go to Crossbrand, because when they walk through the doors, they don't feel like, hey, eyes are on me. I've never been in church before, and that's
good.
We try to take that model, like Brennan was saying.
Well, you do.
It's important.
It is.
It's and that's the thing, and that's what all of our volunteers that we really try to pour into, and letting them know that, hey, I don't care who shows up, man, love on them. Just make them feel Jesus by showing you care, and make sure nobody's by themselves. And that person that comes, from the second that they pull up in their car, from the second they leave, we want them to feel like if they come by themselves, right? They're not awkwardly standing over in the corner and thinking, oh, man.
No.
Because that happens a lot, and by accident, too. It's not on purpose.
But I watched you guys that night, and people are met in the parking lot. Which, by the way, is getting awfully stressed with all the cars. I mean, you guys have grown so much that, when you pull in, it's just a sea of cars. But there are people there to meet you. And I just didn't see a whole lot of kids standing without some kind of welcome or affirmation that night at all. I didn't see it. I need to ask y'all, I need to go sideways for a second and ask you a question. I know you guys love the Lord, and I know you guys got a stable relationship with Him. But tell me, so how old are you?
34.
34, and
I'm 26.
26. So what are you seeing are some of the greatest spiritual struggles of the kids that are coming?
Man, I think the first word that comes to my mind is apathy. I think it's these students, this generation, or this section of students in time is just dealing with a lot of, like, well, I can do church, that's fine, or I can not do church, and that's fine. Like, there's no pursuit. There's no, and for lots of reasons, I see it in the working industry as well. I see those, that
point,
age range doesn't have to work, and I don't know what they do, but it's like some of them don't have to work. And so I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's like, honestly, Mike, I think you don't need Jesus till you need him, right?
Right.
And so I think what's been the most refreshing for me is the students that walk in that know their brokenness. We can connect, because I can tell them my brokenness and they can tell me their brokenness, and we can talk about a Jesus that can save us from our brokenness. And that's what it's about. And so that's where the fire gets lit. It isn't, you don't find people that come to Jesus because they're whole and they got it all figured out. You never do. And so I think that's the prayer. The prayer is, God, would you allow students to come to Boathouse and to see their brokenness, and then to be broken, to accept you and live for you.
That's good. Is that the way you see it?
That's exactly the way I see it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that the way you see it, Lane? Anything to add?
Yeah, I think there's so much brokenness, and I say this every week after you visit with kids. You go, oh, I think I've heard it all. No, every week there's something new, and it's such a reminder of what a broken world we live in, and to see it played out in the lives of these kids. Here's the bottom line, Mike. When you're in college, that's a huge college age. This is your pivotal time.
Yes.
This is the time that people are deciding, I've left mom and dad's house, so now I've got to decide, is this the Jesus thing? Is this going to be mine, or is it going to stay theirs? Or what am I going to do with this, right? So the next thing comes in, of course, this is the time of life. People are deciding, okay, well, who am I going to live with the rest of my life? What spouse am I going to have? Now we've got gender issues and all the things that come along with society and where we are today. I think it's such a pivotal time in people's lives, young people's lives, because the trajectory that they go from here a lot of times will dictate the next 30, 40, 50, 60
absolutely,
years, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I wish like heck somebody...
It did
and
me.
I did. I had people that pulled me aside and said, Lane, let's go this way. You saw it over here between Brandon and Clay.
Yes, yeah.
Clay, let's go this way. And I'm looking out at this sea of young people every week, and I go, you know what? Let's be the people that says, hey, let's grab them by the shoulders and go, it's okay. We've all been right where you are, but let's go this way. And I think the fact that, and I love the way you teach because I've heard some of your teaching, it's truth, but it's truth packaged in love, right?
Oh, it has to
And I
be.
think some people say, well, what's different about Boathouse? I think the difference is because, and we say this every week, we want to be Jesus with skin on and to look and have those eyes to see those that are hurting and those that need a special touch, a hug,
Yes.
a smile, or whatever, and just show them what Jesus looks like. What does it look like?
That's right.
So.
That's right. And you guys, there was nothing compromising when I was there, and I'm pretty critical when it comes to matters on the word and truth. Not critical, mean, but having to pay attention because I am aware, and I'm teaching so much now in apologetics and progressive Christianity, and what so many of your peers are being told, even by some of them, it's by their church leaders, and it's just pure junk, and so when they walk in and okay, so you can have a messy drug addict, but you can also have a messy young lady that has fallen under the wrong teaching, and now she no longer believes that Scripture is truth, even though with a little bit of science and a little bit of research, it's the most reliable document in the history of mankind. And all of those people are coming. You've got religious messes, you've got cultural messes that are walking in there, and I just commend you on the way you have balanced truth and love while y'all have been there, and I hope you guys will keep doing that. Now, there is a little mouse in this room, this podcast room, and I would like for her to add her 2 cents. This is Kiona. This is our children's lady, and I asked her to share a microphone with me and just say a few words about Boathouse.
Yeah.
Okay?
Great.
I'm sure you guys have heard her testimony. We have.
Well, I just want to say how thankful I am for Boathouse and just like what a part of my testimony that it is. So after I got saved and I started coming to Cross Brand, I was really poured into by the Cross Brand leadership. But the only thing that my heart was lacking was godly community. And I didn't have people my age that I felt like I could turn to and build those connections with. And so I heard about Boathouse and I started going, but I didn't know anyone there. And I was going by myself. And so I was going into it blind, had no idea. I was terrified. You can ask Mike. I was like, he had to convince me to go because I was like, I don't know. I don't know anyone. I'm so scared. And so I went and I just was met with so much love. And y'all were just so passionate and on fire for the Lord. And I remember, I think it was the second week I was there, Lane was talking. And he wrapped up his message and said, if you're here, like, God brought you here for a reason. Like, you are here for a reason. And that's just such a testimony to y'all's Boathouse ministry, just the way that y'all humbled yourself before the Lord and let him work and do his thing. And so if you just like listen to the Lord's voice and you're just obedient to him and you follow him, God brought me to Boathouse and it has changed my life. And if it would not have been without the leadership of Boathouse and Lane saying, you are here for a reason, like that was so true. I needed Boathouse more than I even knew that I did. And so just thank y'all for being so obedient to where God is calling you. I know y'all talk about a book saying, like, you won't believe this happened, right? Is that you and Clay's book you're going to write?
We talk. It's either going to be a book or a podcast or something. You can't make it up.
You can't make it up.
Because you just can't. And Kiana, thank you for saying that. And, it's funny, one thing you said, we joke around all the time, but it's so serious. We're trying to remind ourselves, get out of the way. We've got to let the Lord work, because like Brandon said, if we go in and we got to try to control the route, guess what? that ain't Lord's plan. So as we remove out of the way, and Lane brought it up earlier, God brings the people, and he brought we could tell you a story. We'd be here for hours of, hey, we have a need, we pray through it, and then next week we get a phone call or somebody shows up, hey, I got this skill, could I help at Boathouse? I mean, God's just doing stuff over and over. But, Kiona, now, like, I see you at Boathouse, and I didn't realize when you came, you didn't know anybody. Because when you see Kiona at Boathouse now, oh my gosh, she's a social butterfly, talking to everybody. She's got so many friends at Boathouse, but it's so cool. And it's not just like with Kiona, like one couple things that I've seen. Like, I want to give you guys an example of the TJC baseball team. Okay, so we had last year 3 or 4 guys coming, and man, couple of them, like, Lord just got a hold of their heart, right? And they gave their life to Christ. And one of their solid guys got baptized the same night. One of the ladies from Crossbrand did. And I pulled him aside, and I was visiting with him, and I said, hey man, I just want you guys to know, like, when you're standing there and there's 3 solid guys and they have 20 of their teammates behind them and they're worshiping, and I'm watching the guys. Wow. So, some of these kids they're on fire for the Lord, and then the other ones are, you can tell they've probably never been in church, but they're watching their friends worship, and they're like, I want that. Mm-hmm. Well, why are you guys so different? What is it about you? Like, so, like, the Lord's grabbing their hearts, and then they're taking it into their community. And as I'm telling them this, just like, hey, just praying with them, encouraging them, he pulls his phone out, and he looks at this, and he shows me 3 names. I said, what is that? He said, last year, we got 5. I asked every week, either FCA or Boathouse. I invited everybody from the team. We would go and individually invite. We had 5 people show up all year long. He said, this year, there's only 3 left. and there were 3 of the guys, and all 3 of them at the same time goes, and they're going to come. Because they're so on fire for the Lord,
Yeah,
they just,
very contagious.
Yeah, what the Lord's done with their life, and he's just using He's not using us. Lord's using Boathouse, and just, well, like I said, we get out of the way, and
sure.
I mean, God's just moving, and you take back, and just like the worship at Boathouse, it's just so amazing just to see 400 college students like truly worshiping the Lord. It's just incredible, and so they take that, and it's changing their lives. They're pulling it into their own community, and it's just, man, we have story after story with it like that. And it's so cool, and it's encouraging. It fires us up. They say like the camp high, right? Everybody knows what that is. If you went to any type of camp, you come back. Right? Well, some of the college guys, I was visiting with them, and I said, it's like every Tuesday when we come and we leave, it's like having a camp high. And everybody's like, I agree. Like, that's the perfect way to describe when you leave Boathouse. And praise God for that,
Yeah, because Kiona has a long drive home, and she is she's wound up every time she leaves Boathouse. She really is. And all the kids that we've sent that report back to us, they're just wound smooth up. We do a thing called parting shots. We probably need to wrap this thing up, but tell me anything you can think of, any prayer. Well, we know the prayer needs right now. Anything, parting shots, Brandon, Clay, Lane?
And just, I think my final comment would just be that, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord for what he's doing. Praise the Lord for the fact that he's giving Boathouse a platform to reach students.
Amen.
And that's where it needs to be. So
there's, if you're sitting here and you're listening to this, and you're saying, how can I help? How can I help serve Boathouse? There's needs all across the board, from coming out and serving as an adult to if you're sitting at your house and just praying. Because pray for that student that's never stepped foot in a church, but their friend invites them to the lake at this thing called Boathouse.
That's good.
Like, just pray, because we've seen that person that's walked in.
Yeah.
So if you say, well, I can't help financially, or I can't go there on Tuesday, you guys can pray, and that is, power of prayer is unbelievable. I think we all know that. So that's really, really important.
Yeah, and it wouldn't hurt this is a interdenominational outreach and sheep feeding gathering every Tuesday night, and it sure wouldn't hurt if some of the churches got together and thought kingdom and not local church, not their name. And I hope that this, I'm not trying to shame anybody or guilt them into it, but I just wish churches could see the value in the kingdom, because this, college students, for the most part, you guys didn't, but they're gonna come in and go away. Some of them are going to go home, and some of them are not going to stay at home, and that's That's pretty good evangelism right there, man. Them not sticking around, sending them home and letting them be salt and light wherever they came from. Lane, parting shots?
You know what? I think if we're going to ask for something, I'm going to be like Solomon, and we're going to ask for wisdom. That's wisdom for guidance. That's wisdom how to lead.
That's good.
Wisdom for the talks. That's wisdom for just doing what God has called us to do and staying on mission.
Yes.
You know, and if I'm a 100% believer, exactly what Clay said. He nailed it. Prayer is where it's at.
Yes.
You know, what's the success to Boathouse? I'll be honest with you. It's the prayer that goes into it. And that's the people praying for us and us meeting and praying and just asking God, what do you want to do? And we say this in every prayer, Mike. We hold our hands just like this when we're praying. God, we've got our hands wide open. What do you want to do? And we don't have any agenda. You know, you come on a Tuesday night, and I'm going to encourage you, for the listeners out there, if you've never been, I want you to come. Because here's why. Because once you come, you'll get a picture of what heaven truly looks like.
That's right.
It's pretty cool to watch all the different types of kids.
That's right.
There's no Catholic, Methodist, Baptist, non-denominational. There's kids with souls that need Jesus.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
that's good. Yep. That is good. All right. So it is 18 to 30-year-olds ish.
Yep.
Do you card at the door?
You just come in and meet Clay in your car. Clay will say hello.
I'll be there welcoming you guys. So y'all come on.
All right. So we meet every Tuesday night at the Petroleum Club on Lake Tyler, and it's real easy to access. Directions.
Yep.
And they're going to eat, and they're going to play a lot of goofy-looking games, especially for us old people. And it's going to be the most incredible experience. So you don't have to be a college student. You don't have to be a college student. Go on. Yes, sir.
So wanted to say, like, if you want to know if we have it or not, if we're like have an off week or something, Instagram is the way we advertise everything. Boathouseministries.com. If you're not on Instagram, there's also boathouseministries.com is our website.
Okay.
Then, I guess it's at Boathouse Ministries. It's not Boathouse
Boathouseministry.com is the website or whatever.
Okay, that's good.
Or Instagram, Boathouse Ministry. I guess
At
that's
Boathouse
it. Okay.
Ministry.
At Boathouse Ministry. So that's a way to check everything like that.
Perfect.
We've got that linked with Facebook for the old folks like me. So
yeah, I saw that. Hey, yeah, I know. Guys, it has been so good to have you today. Keona, thanks for joining in with these guys. We would love to have you back. When you do that bloopers podcast or almost bloopers, you're welcome to use our podcast room, and we'll stay out of your way and just let y'all have a giggle fest in here, because it looks to me like that's exactly what it would be.
You know, now one other thing, Mike, I'm going to give one last plug. Also, if people want to check out the messages, maybe they're hurting around a certain area, on YouTube, we have all of our messages linked through our website. So you can go and you can listen to all the talks that's happening with Boathouse. And if you're struggling with relationships or struggling with whatever, it's on there. So
perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. God bless.